Hello and welcome to yet another, and I feel like I say this all the time, exciting episode of Human Can Opener from the 41st Precinct. And I have another amazing reason to be excited today because I'm joined by Marko Smiljanic, who is the creative director at a studio called Emotion Spark, and they are making a game which we're all excited for called Rue Valley. Hello, Marko. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, it's great to be here again among all the guys that were before me.
Yeah.
So it's an honor, let's say.
Oh well, the honour is all mine. I have to make that very clear. Thank you, Marko. Appreciate it. So, usual drill. I'll ask you some nice, friendly warm up questions. I mean, they're all friendly, really, but we'll ask the warm up questions. So you are, of course, creative director at a studio making a game. So I have to assume you like games. So Marko, take us all the way back. When did you first fall in love with games as a medium?
Oh, I mean, it was a long time ago. Like having trouble remembering these parts of my life right now. Let's say I had a what's called Commodore 64.
Mm.
That's my first. It's a computer, I guess, a console. I don't know what it is. Yeah, that was the first introduction. Let's say some like early 90s,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, games were like part of the most of my life.
Mm.
Usually it's like I've been playing from my like since I know about myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, up until right now, where I'm like uh, having several games playing like in the um, parallel, let's
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
While also working on one, so it's yeah.
Yeah. So your backlog is just as bad as the rest of ours, I'm guessing. Then, Marko. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Recently, just recently, I by pure coincidence, I got sucked into Stellaris.
Aha.
So it took some time, some free time that I barely have that crushed by this game. So yeah,
Yeah, I've heard Stellaris can consume you. I'm currently in a bit of a Civ 6 addiction because the new one comes out in like I don't know.
same thing, same
Yeah.
thing. I'm also waiting for the new one. Yeah, so
Yeah. Very excited.
that's gonna be a
It's funny how the cycle always happens as well, isn't it, Marko? With a Civ game, everyone's really annoyed and angry that they've made like tiny changes, and I guarantee, just like it was from 5 to 6, that everybody will just love it and pile more hours into it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember being very scared of 6 after 5, and was pleasantly surprised. So yeah.
Actually, I was introduced with the sixth. I never played before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was I don't know why there was like this kind of dislike about the 4X games
Hmm.
before, and I think I played some board game that was kind of
Yeah.
Civ like, and it was and then like I will try this, and then of course
Yeah.
one more turn and
Yes,
a
absolutely.
disaster. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because I was an early adopter of Civ 6, it was quite nice actually. It was the first time that I'd really kind of stuck with a game for many years and grew with it, where you kind of have all these different
Hmm.
packs coming in. So it's been quite a colossal game in my life, especially. All right, so let's twist it another way. I've got like my usual 5 questions that I ask about media recommendations. So to hone you in a little bit, what is your favorite game of all time?
Uh, that's the easiest question. Grim Fandango.
Ah, really? Amazing.
Yes, it's like I don't know. I will remember this game since like until I die. I will play it several more times. Definitely, I played it a lot of times. It just I like it. That's from the first moment I played it until right now. Still same feeling.
Yeah. So I was big into point and click games growing up, and Grim Fandango was one of those that I didn't. I remember I played it, but then I didn't obsessed with it the same way I did, for example, with like I don't know, Broken Sword. Did you ever play those in
Yeah,
the
of
old
course.
LucasArts games? So just for people who might not be aware, because I'm sure we have young people watching who don't know what Grim Fandango is. Just tell us a bit about Grim Fandango and why you love it so much, Marco.
I don't know. It's this kind of noirish feeling that it has in a like a completely weird setting. Let's say it's like Land of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very like a completely relatable story, but set in the Land of the Dead. You know, and even though you have this kind of weird customs there and weird traditions and stuff like that, it's kind of and you know weird stuff like demons and what was it like? I mean, everybody's a skeleton. It's you know they can't die actually, but you know it's weird thing with these
Yeah.
flowers and stuff like that. Doesn't matter. But on top of all of that, you get a very relatable characters. You get the writing is to this day amazing. I from time to time I like pick some references from there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even for Rue Valley, for example, you know they have the talkative receptionist is pretty much got from the receptionist in the Grim Fandango,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I like this when you actually have this feeling that this place exists, that this world exists. You can live in this world. You can go through the story and you can find yourself in this world. You can start to believe that it actually is a real thing. You know, it's not just like someone imagined it. It exists. You know, and it's like complex and weird and but on top of that completely relatable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Great little pitch there, and I think that there is a remastered version as well, and everybody should join me in the list of people that need to finish it properly and play it, because I know it's very well thought of, and it's a crime of mine that I've not. So yes, great shape, Marco.
It's funny that to this day, even though they had some like very huge limitations on graphics on uh, like pretty much everything, but you can see that what they could do they did perfectly. You know, you have animations that are very simple, like with very simple characters, but they are alive. They are like very detailedly done as much as they could with these rigs, and the voice acting that is to this day like still amazing. So
Yeah. No, it's quality product. I'm trying to
yeah.
the whole time we've been talking, I was trying to rack my brains over the chap who was behind it, because he's a bit of a legend, isn't he? The guy,
Tim Schafer.
Tim Schafer. Yes, thank you.
Tim
Yes,
Schafer.
that's who I was trying to think of. Yes, so yes, very well thought of, legendary game.
Mhm.
So yeah, top recommendation. All right, you can now. This is your opportunity. You know, when no one listens to you, when you keep saying about this thing that you love all the time. This is why I do this mainly, is so people have the opportunity to, without question, recommend something. So, your game is Grim Fandango. Do you have a book that you'd recommend to the world?
Um, because I saw your question that you sent me before, you know, I kind of thought through it. Yeah, of course, but uh, I would just use this opportunity to recommend a great book. Maybe not my favorite one, but I really like it. I read it recently. It's what's it called? Project Hail Mary from Andy Weir,
Hmm.
who wrote The Martian.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's his latest book. I mean, he's a he's a programmer that did, for some reason decided to write science fiction
Mm-hmm.
for random reasons, and he's amazing. And this is the problem is that the anything I say about this book is a spoiler. So
Okay.
let's say that it has a very nice ways of how should I do this without spoiling? Um, uh, he uses science as a basis in his books, and he keeps everything like as realistically as possible. Uh, but it's not boring.
Yeah.
It's very entertaining. It's a page turner, and uh, Martian is fine. I liked it a lot, but this one has the emotion like he managed to put through all of this science geeky mumbo jumbo, and to get like that you really feel it. You can like shed a tear at the end after all this, because some weird mathematically correct stuff happened.
Right.
So
Okay. Yeah.
it's a nice combination.
Big sci-fi
It's
fan then in general, Marco?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, aren't we all? I mean,
Well, yes. It just not it lines up nicely to a question I've got on the art style later, which I'm making
mhm.
sure to remind myself about. Um, Great shout, thank you. That's quite recent then as well, that book. So
Yeah. That's why like, it's not the greatest work of art, but it deserves to be heard about
yeah,
and read.
yeah, good shout. It's the trouble when people are asked for their favorite thing ever. They're stuck between just going with their heart and wanting to seem like it's a profound recommendation, right?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. What about movie?
Oh, I'm a Back to the Future fan.
Ah, nice.
It will always be like a nice movie to see again and again. Of
Yeah.
course, there's many of them, but yeah, this one will always be the first that comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the decade of creativity and ideas for sure, right? Like when you look
Yeah.
at those kind of sort of like adventure movies that were around then, Ghostbusters, The Goonies, Back to the
Yeah.
Future. It was just a magical time to just feel adventurous, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I miss those moments in nowadays movies when you have like something hanging off a thread, for like 10 minutes, and you're like at the edge of your seat. You're not, you know that everything's gonna be fine, but you're still like completely drawn in and like shaking, waiting for it to
yeah,
like, uh, yeah. So yeah,
yeah.
it's,
Fantastic. Yeah, great movie. Um, Musician, band slash artist. Basically, if they make music, they qualify, Marco.
Pink Floyd.
Pink
That's also
Floyd.
easy. Yeah, that's a easy one. I mean, I have all kinds of music that I like, but uh, you know, Pink Floyd is one of those bands that you know about their history, you know about uh, problems, and you pick that, you know, uh, even though there's all kinds of wrong stuff that happened there, here and there with them. You always find you know all of these songs that are like from before, the new ones. It's that's the kind of uh, feeling I have with them. Just like ended up loving them whatever they do.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
did whatever I mean. Right now they're like all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
but I had this opportunity to go to both David Gilmour's concert and Roger Waters' Wall concert. So I've seen them.
As good as you can by
Yeah,
at this
yeah,
point. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it was great.
Yeah, I mean, you're knocking out all the hits here. To be honest, Mark, I don't think anyone can argue with any of these so far.
I mean, I'm not trying to be like obscure or anything.
Yeah,
It's just not like these. All of these are like it's good art.
yeah,
And like I like it.
yeah, yeah. No, that's how it should be. Yeah, I'm with you 100%. What about TV show then for the last one?
Um, gotta say leftovers.
Oh,
it's
okay. I've not seen
it,
that.
it,
It's one of
it's
the.
a weird one, but a good one. It has only 3 seasons. It's like you like 10 episodes each.
Mm-hmm.
Easy to go through, but it's not like every day that you go to a TV show more than once.
Mm,
You know, So when I realized that, I mean, it's a hard one. It's not like a like comedy or anything. It's just like very very difficult stories. And when you go through this twice, then you're like, okay, this is really good.
mm.
If you manage to like, oh, I want to watch this again.
Yeah,
This depressive hard stuff, I want to watch it again. And it's kind of uh, works then. Yeah.
Just for my understanding, the concept of the leftovers is kind of like isn't it's like the living through the aftermath of Thanos' snap, right? Did a disease or something?
Very similar, very
Yeah,
similar. Yeah, yeah. It's even if I remember correctly, Thanos was like 50% of the people disappeared or
yeah.
something like that. Here it was 2%.
Ah, okay, but still a
So
significant. Yeah,
yeah, when you look at the whole world, yes, a significant number, but in 100 people, it's just two the missing.
yeah,
So it's the thing is that uh, the whole premise is about it's not a big difference, but it actually is.
yeah.
You're trying to pretend that nothing happened, but you can't, and like it's handling with that.
Mm.
It's a very very uh, tough one, let's say.
Yeah, I suppose it's relative, isn't it? It may be 2% of the global population, but let's imagine two of your friends. I guess I'm just trying to,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
impact is magnified for that person in particular, right? Yeah. No, it's one of those that I've had my eye on, and again, backlogs for TV shows are just as bad as games, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's
Same
it's
thing, always. Yeah.
hard to keep up. Okie dokie. Well, thank you for that. Really, good recommendations there, and I've noted all of them. Right, so Rue Valley and Emotion Spark. First question before I get it, I've got lots of questions on Rue Valley in particular, but I'm just interested, first of all, to know how you and perhaps some of the team got into the idea of game development in the first place.
So I mean, we let's start it like this. So the partner in crime, let's say, a friend of mine who is the let's say shareholder of Emotion Spark, and the two of us kind of moved everything uh, way before with some other company, and then recently, like 5 years ago, we started Emotion Spark. So before we had a studio which was a game development studio. We had around 30 people, I think, and we were making a game called Helion. It was a disaster as a premise, but it was a very interesting thing to go through. It was a multiplayer survival space simulation.
Mm.
So, like, and that was like our first game. Like, we're gonna make the biggest thing. Something like people were comparing us to Star Citizen.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's this kind of, and we're like a small team trying to make something like this. We managed to release an early access in 2017,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a complete disaster in terms of performance and bugs. But the idea of the game, that you're playing a first-person game and surviving in space where you have orbital mechanics and all kinds of stuff, people loved it. And we had this problem with we had have a broken game and a great audience,
Mm.
and we tried to fix it, but as a new audience comes in, they can't play it because it doesn't work. And we had this I think 2 year period of trying to fix the game, where the game sold less and less,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually we realized that we can't bring it up to our original vision. And we decided, because we had an investor who was expecting like millions from this game, and this kind of didn't happen. We had to decide to stop the development. We kind of quietly released it as uh, from early access, and you can't buy it anymore. That's it. Uh, but what interesting thing is that we sold around more than 80,000 copies through this period, and we had a great audience. I mean, people are still playing it. People who bought it then. Right now, it's in a decent state. You can kind of play it. It has a few bugs, but it's far from finished game. But the experience is always was always like um, something that you don't have in other games, and but yeah, unfortunately, because the market and like our lack of knowledge to make such a complex game ended up that we had to like close this company. Everybody got some jobs we pushed a lot of stuff. We had people who weren't in game development before at all, and they started working with us. They learned a lot of stuff. We closed the company. They went to Ubisoft. What was it? We have a app software here who made Scorn.
Okay, yeah.
So lots of like AAA studios. One guy went to CD Projekt Red, and like it's like we bumped up these people. And what's funny that when we started Emotion Spark, half of these people came back.
Nice. That must have
So
felt good for you.
yeah. I mean, they've seen how it is everywhere else, and but they know how it's working with me and Branislav, who's he's officially the CEO of the company. But yeah, so we have these people here now again. It kind of feels that they never left.
Yeah.
So
no, it's good. It's nice to hear that loop happened when they came back, because they obviously they had an attachment to it, right? That's a nice feeling.
It was because I mean we were trying to even in this kind of tough periods we were trying to figure out. It's a huge responsibility when you have 20 people that you fired in the same day. Because you can't pay. You don't have this money anymore. But we used all of our contacts to how should I say, to get them to all the studios that we know.
Yeah.
And 2 months from after we had to let's say reduce the team, because we didn't stop working, then we reduced the team by 20 people. We had to 2 months from that, we had everybody of these 20 people hired somewhere else for like even more money that they worked with us. So, and it was at least we try to do something.
Yes.
In this kind of situation.
Yeah.
And they all respected it. And as the situations appear, we now have people from that a programmer, one of the best programmers that worked in Ubisoft, that has an office here. We have people from Art Bullies. It's outsourced studio that worked on Call of Duty. They've worked on lots of games I can't even remember now. We have people that worked on Scorn. So they kind of came back to us now that we can actually, we have a project, we have a publisher, we have money to support all that. So yeah, we kind of slowly getting back together.
Yeah, it's amazing what people looking after people can do and what it does for a person, right? It's nice that you had that philosophy. Obviously, very difficult decisions have to be made, but you did everything you could to help them. Which obviously went a long way.
That's I always say like this. It's a situation where you don't have a lot of options.
Yeah.
And you have to figure it out. So yeah, but in the end, turned out great for everybody.
Yes.
So that's good. So yeah, after we realized that Helen wasn't gonna work, I mean, the realization came a lot before that. We like jumped into something too complex for us, and I was trying to see what will be the next thing to do and how to tone it down. Not get all the mistakes that we made, see how not to repeat them, and things like that. So in the beginning of 2020, we started working on Rue Valley. It was a team of 4 people, or 6 people total. I mean, we had some here and there guys helping out, but So we from 2020, the beginning of 2020 until let me not make a mistake, until the end of 2023. Yes. No, no, I'm mistaken. Until the end of 2022. Yeah. So 3 years,
Yeah.
almost 3 years after, we had a finished demo that we can show to someone. So this was the idea. Like, let's try to make something that we can, because I don't believe in like pitching a game without actually showing anything,
Yeah.
proper. It's very hard to get the people to see the vision if they can just play it.
Yeah.
So we had something like the demo that you can play now, but like half the quality, let's say.
Okay.
We didn't have any proper animations. We had some like assets downloaded from various like stores and stuff like that. We had a UI that was almost a direct copy of Disco Elysium's UI, because my logic was like they did it right, like the text box and all that. Let's not play with that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's do a copy of that, so that people can read it properly, people can understand how it works. The font was, I think, identical, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I knew that it was a placeholder and something that wouldn't work for our game, but I was like, let's not mess with this right now. Let's just put it there. uh, you could actually take a screenshot of Disco Elysium, put it over, and
Oh,
you'll see
really?
the margins match. It's feel kind of ashamed of that, but it was a like production thing.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah. Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
not deal with this right now. We don't have time or money for that. And yeah, in September 2022, uh, we started looking for publishers. We uh, we went to a conference. It's here near in Croatia. It's a huge conference in Dubrovnik, called Reboot Develop, and it actually got a lot of traction through the years, and lots of like famous game developers, artists, writers came there. Even Tim Schafer himself was 3 or 4 times there. I remember. I have a we have a signature of Tim Schafer. Uh,
Oh, do you?
yeah, he signed some booklet that we had for Helen before. Yeah, so yeah, it's a like conference that we really hold close to our hearts. And actually, I have to mention him. The director of this conference is also the shareholder, smaller part, but he was helping us a lot while we didn't have a publisher. And he was how should I say, he was a sort of investor in the time where we didn't have anybody uh, as a publisher. And yeah, so we presented the game there, this little demo that we had, and we started getting interest from publishers, from investors. And it was, I think it was Raw Fury, it was 11-bit, it was Kepler, and a few more that I remember. And um, the story starts to be interesting now, because we were like, okay, we have a great publishers interested in this game, like we're on the roll, but we're like, you don't get a publisher overnight, it takes time. It just doesn't work. But like we had 5 after this conference that came back to us and asked for a demo and all that. And one by one they started rejecting us. Like
Ah.
everybody likes it. For example, I think it was Devolver said like, oh, it's like too much like Disco Elysium, we don't want to uh, be involved in something that's too much like something else.
Mm.
11-bit said that it's too narrative driven. It's not like, because they like games with mechanics, with management, with that also have narrative, but like you need to have some kind of management there,
Mm-hmm.
and we decided not to go in this direction in the beginning, so it didn't work for them. And then it kind of started to be problematic for us, because we were running out of the little money that we had.
Yep.
And we heard about a conference that happened here in Belgrade. It's called White Nights, and we were like, it's here, it's in the neighborhood. You can sit in a car drive of 10 minutes and we'll be there. Let's go. Like, what can we lose? We managed to get some tickets, and it was like not that expensive, but I mean, it's a small conference in a small place, but like, it's here. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And on the first day, Andre from Owlcats approached me, and he saw the this demo of Rue Valley on the screen. And he was like, "Okay." He turned to me. He said, "Like, okay, I'm from Owlcat, and I have to show you our chat." And he like showed me his chat on his phone, his internal chat with everybody in his team. Like in written, told him like, find the game that looks most like Disco Elysium. And I'm like, look no further. Like, we're here, and then the interesting thing started. Like, we hanged out with him. We went to some dinner, some beer, we actually took him to the studio, showed him everything that we did before, and he left a quite nice impression on us. We left a nice impression on him, and then we didn't hear from him for the next 10 to 15 days or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like expected. In the meantime, every other publisher that we pitched to rejected us.
Wow.
And we were already starting to like be very afraid of like the future.
Mm-hmm.
And Andre just texted me, so and he said like, okay, I showed the game to the guys at All Kids. We want to talk.
Amazing.
And we're like, okay, how did this happen? In the conference here in the neighborhood.
It was meant to be, clearly, wasn't it?
Yeah. In any case, that was February 2023 already, and until the July of 2023, we managed to get all the paperwork done. The I think 1st of August was our first day at work with the full team. Like, we hired new people. We hired people from the company before that worked on Helen. We got the equipment and started like properly working on the game. And yeah, so that's how much, a year and a half now. But since the beginning, it's 5 years since we started. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago was our like founding anniversary.
Wow. What a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there's little
since
moments. Go on, sorry.
yeah, since then, I feel like we hired new people. We um, expanded our team, but with our kids, we like, I feel like this team like expanded significantly, because we're like constant communication with all of them. With they're providing like localization, voice acting, all kinds of things for marketing, all kinds of help where we can get reporting as well. Maybe I'm saying too much. Let's keep it like that.
Yep.
Yeah, see, I didn't think how much I can actually reveal.
Yeah.
Have to be careful here. In any case, like, it feels like, we're kind of we matched perfectly. So
Mm.
we went to Gamescom last year, just gonna mention the immediate experience there. When you uh, come to a friend's house that you didn't like, you weren't there for some time. You come to the friend's house and you feel like at home.
Yes.
You can sit on the sofa without. You can go to the fridge and take stuff without asking. This is how I felt when I got to the booth that they made on Gamescom. I went there and like, okay, uh, Alex showed me where the drinks are. Well, okay, like I will sit here, I will chill, I will drink, I will go, and it just feels like you're at home.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, nice. I'm glad you found what sounds like a great partner. Because no doubt this community will appreciate how important that is these days.
I didn't. Sorry to just want to add something there. I didn't even realize the reception they actually have as a publisher. I mean, they're primarily developer. They made um, uh, Pathfinder, Kingmaker, Wrath of the Righteous, and now recently Rogue Trader.
Hmm.
They have their own community of like RPG gamers, and these people love them.
Yeah.
It's also weird because all of these games kind of had a rough start when on the release, like because they're huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because they're extremely huge. They had bugs and all that, but they eventually fixed all of that. And people are like, okay, we can have bugs, but if you fix them, we're good.
Yeah.
So and yeah, they have this kind of great relations with the audience. And I realized that only after. I didn't even know it before.
Mm.
I just realized that when we started showing the stuff from Rue Valley on social medias, that people are like, oh, Owlcats are doing something. I think that's gonna be great. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. So we got a bit of a positive vibe from the audience as well because of them.
Yeah, and I think your positive vibes are growing every day. To be honest, around Rue Valley, certainly in this community. So just before we do talk about the game itself, I just want to understand. So you are the creative director, and I know that can mean a different thing depending on the studio, right? So just tell us a little bit about what you normally do day to day, your role and responsibilities working on the game.
That's a tough one. Uh, Recently, I'm like going through meetings,
Yeah.
which is the thing that I hate the most. Just yesterday I had like 3 meetings in a row, and it's like, okay, now I'll work, and I don't have the strength anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, but maybe like I can like try like this. So the original idea for the game was mine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it comes from like a very long time ago. Uh, Now it's a very long time ago. It's like 2009, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
That I had this idea of like a guy being trapped in a time loop and uh, like, oh, I can't say too much. Okay, but I had this kind of idea, and back then I wasn't even in game development. I was working at some studio. We did visual effects and for commercials, movies, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to make a short movie of this idea before. This was kind of something that I did at the time, kind of like amateur cinematography, whatever. And as the time progresses, this idea kind of start to develop, evolve, and it at one point before we even started, just before, like very I mean, this Elysium came out in 2019, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the original. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had the idea like way before of the setting and the theme and the characters and all that. The problem is that I was trying to keep it manageable, something that you can actually develop, and if you want, at that time I was thinking like, if this is going to be like a serious RPG, like it has to be like, I don't know, Mass Effect or something like that, where I have
Mm.
character, or like Skyrim or something. I have like motion capture. I need to have faces animated. People are not gonna accept poor animations. This is not something that you can do properly. So I was like, okay, how can I make it manageable. Let's do it like without characters. Let's do this kind of first-person walking simulator thing. With this idea, if it's possible. And then, if you remember, Outer Wilds came
Yep,
out,
of course.
which has this kind of, can I say it? It's a spoiler. Outer Wilds audience don't like
You can
spoilers.
do a spoiler warning, and
Let's say it's a spoiler warning for Outer
yes,
Wilds,
it's a
so skip
wild
that. So
spoiler.
it has a time loop as well.
Yeah.
I love this game a lot, and I saw the Reddit. It's like, when you
It's
scroll through it, it's like spoilers. Everything is
yeah,
blocked. You can't read anything. So it's they're very cautious about it. So that's why I'm respecting that.
yep,
Outer Wilds had this kind of exploration detective gameplay, which I loved at the time, and this was one of the maybe the longest idea that I had before deciding it to be like a RPG,
hmm
like to keep it as a puzzle game, where you don't really meet other characters. You just see, let's say, what they left. You're going through an environment, just picking up pieces and creating stories in your head.
yeah,
And I'm so glad that we didn't go this direction, because it would be so hard to uh, get the storytelling that I want in this way. Uh, and yeah, then this Elysium came out, and I, of course, played it pretty soon as it was released. And I have one specific situation that where I understood that this is the genre we want to go with.
yeah.
Um, it's I don't remember what the character name was, or it's the guy sitting in the whirling in rag in the uh, this kind of small.
You're about the drunk guy who's asleep.
Not the behind the
Oh, in
was
the kitchen.
in the not in the kitchen. What was next to the kitchen? It's some kind of
You mean where the Hardy
cafeteria.
Boys are?
Yeah, where the Hardy Boys
Yeah,
are. Yeah,
yeah. So I don't
yeah,
know
and
why it
he
took
was.
me so long to get to the
Yeah,
Hardy
yeah.
Boys.
I was trying to remember the Hardy Boys also. I mean, I didn't play this Elysium for a long time, so I'm forgetting stuff. But there was a conversation where this guy is pointing his hand to the window, and through the window you can see some like very detailed stuff. And then I realized that I'm just reading a text. He didn't even point to the window. It was in text.
Yes.
There wasn't animation of him pointing to the window. I don't see the window. The window is just like a mush of brush strokes that Rostov did,
Yeah.
and it's through the window you don't see anything. It's all in text,
Yes.
and it worked flawlessly. It made such a great image of what's of like this situation that I'm like, and I was like, oh, I can put my idea in this kind of genre, and this was maybe the turning point. But then, of course, I realized uh, it needs to be an RPG.
Yes.
It needs to have a system. It needs to have something that some points, some numbers that you mess around with. And then I was like, but I wanted to make an emotional story. I didn't want to make a combat game or something like that. And then I realized that what would be a great thing to play around with, to present as a system,
hmm
and that's where the personality system for Rue Valley came from. Like you can create a character that will react and act differently to the dialogues, through friendships, to emotional situations based on his personality, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
And then we kind of started diving into these little details how to make this system, and it took us uh, dare to say more than a year to to di-
Really.
to be sure that that's it. We had some very weird iterations of it. You won't believe, like. Uh, we even have that you pick the character's background, and it was three. I can't remember what they were called, like three different backgrounds that sound like each one sound as bad as the previous one. You
Mm.
know, you're like picking how you're falling apart, you know, and and it should kind of affect the the game somehow, but then we decided that it's too much. It doesn't really represent anything. It's just maybe it sounds more like a joke than a part of the system, you know. So
Yeah. Wow, that's. I'm glad you got to RPG in the end, and it's
yeah,
fascinating
me too.
hearing hearing how you went through those steps. And I was going to ask actually if Outer Wilds was an inspiration. Obviously, I wanted to be careful how I asked it, but I was like, and I did. I obviously don't know how much you can tell me about certain elements of the game, but I was curious about the Rue Valley time loop and whether mechanically you could play around with how much time you have and things like that. Can you answer that, or would you rather not?
Let's say like this. I mean, maybe it's obvious, maybe not. I don't know. In Rue Valley, so this was one of the decisions that we had to make at some point. And we even tried a different approach. So in Rue Valley, right now, as it is, and as it will be, that's decided. The time in the game runs only when you do something.
Oh,
So
okay.
only when you interact with something, it can progress the time. It can never the time will never move if you just like hang around. If you leave your mouse or joystick or keyboard, whatever, the game will stay. Nothing will change. And we had a version where the time was like real time before,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a disaster. You know, you're trying to read the text, but you're a bit slower. You know, and then you have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
run to the other parts, and you're not sure where you're going, and then kind of the loop happens, and like what the hell. So yeah, we decided to. Uh, I mean, coincidentally, this Elysium does the same.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but in this code, time is not a big factor as it
Mm.
is in reality. They did it like very nicely. That sometimes it's important. You know, you have to be somewhere at night. You have to come back at a specific period of time, which is a nice. Um but we are doing it, let's say, a bit more complex.
Okay.
Uh, I will try to explain like this, just trying not to get too much, not to reveal too much. There are parts in Rue Valley where you have to be somewhere at a specific point in time
Okay.
to be able to interact with someone. And from the game design perspective, it's no different than like just being somewhere and interacting with someone. You know, you just have to know where to go to interact with someone. Here, you have to know where to go and when to be there.
Okay.
So we have a joke like I always say, like it's just adding a fourth dimension to the game,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But uh, people mostly from producers from our kids are joking like, you mean the third dimension, because the game runs in just two dimensions. It doesn't really have this. Uh, so yeah, so it's not that complex when you look at it like that, but you have to be careful, you know, because um, player players don't usually know when things will happen in the game, so they have to kind of explore this, let's say, timelines of all the characters. For example, if you play the prologue, you see that the girl at the vending machine is there at the beginning of the loop, but not later. So
Mm-hmm.
she goes somewhere, and this is what's interesting in Rue, and kind of makes it a bit makes it stand out a bit from other RPGs, because um, the characters are not just idle standing somewhere waiting for you to click on them. They will go somewhere on their own if they have to. You know, if they, and this time loop setting is great for it, because we have the mindset of all the characters in these little 47 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
that we know what they want, we know where they want to go, we know what they want to do, and we kind of just place it all. And so the girl at the vending machine, she's trying to get the coffee. Something's not going okay there. She's angry, but she leaves. And when you play the game further, you can learn where she went. At some other location, she is in a different mood, in a different mindset, let's say. So the conversation with her somewhere else might be different. So it's a additional thing to explore. And it's we also play with that. Sometimes you need to set up a situation so that you will get the character in a certain mood. This is not that we do that often, but it happens. And it's kind of unlocking a door that you had locked before. So you get the new content.
So this is so if I so I'm thinking now. I mean, first of all, this sounds absolutely so up my street. It's ridiculous. Like I'm really excited hearing you talk about this stuff. And I'm trying to remain professional and not turn into a giddy child here. So I'm just interested. So obviously in the alpha demo, you could play around, or you got a little sneak peek into things like conditions based on the personality traits you have, and there was things like was it soggy sock, I think, or wet sock from the so and obviously the demo is deliberately locking you out of some stuff. I can't remember. Is it complete lack of motivation?
Total lack of motivation. Yeah, that's a how should I say, a nice setup, but it's a game design tool.
Yeah,
it's a tutorial tool. We lock you out from all the stuff that we don't want to overwhelm you with, and we use total lack of motivation was perfect for that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of introducing the players. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. Can you expand a little bit then? Obviously within the limits of spoiler territory, of course. The personality system and those different traits. Obviously, you can play around in most RPGs with these things and have different experiences. So, how wildly different do you think each player's experience could be based on decisions they make around those things?
Let me tell you like this. You can get or miss certain quests in the game if you pick a certain personality. So there's a reason, if you're like a completionist, there's a reason to play more than once, definitely. So yeah, I mean, right now is in the current state, there are several quests that you can just completely miss. So I will give you one example. Might be a bit of spoilerish, but I think people like that, so why not? If for example you have a quest to break into someone's car, okay, and you have no idea how to break in someone's car, you never did that. Your character is pretty much a disaster, and he didn't do things like that, and you have to figure it out. So you have various ways of figuring it out. You can maybe like search online, you can ask someone, you can find a key or something like that, and it's like a huge amount of steps that you can go through to actually get into this car. But if you're a reckless person, you have the option to break the car window and open the car just immediately, and it kind of skips all these steps of this part. So, and it's funny because you when you pick the reckless person, this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
And you feel both great because you've managed to do the quest immediately, like you just skipped like tons of steps, but you also feel a bit disappointed because you skipped a lot of steps that are also nice content to have. So this kind of things that we play around all the time. So
yeah, sort of like I guess just to compare it to Disco Elysium, people have very different. I don't know, if you're a physical instrument, Harry, you'll smash the door down, and if you're, I don't know, empathetic Harry, you might find a way to kind of talk someone into it, something like that. No, I like that, and I was just going to say one more thing about the character personalities. It's really what I like the most about just when you first come to it is it's never clear. There's no obvious good or bad things to choose, right? Like it's very, no matter what you pick, you always feel like, well, actually, I'm losing. Like they're definitely sacrifices to made. So just talk to me a little bit about that as a.
I mean, this is maybe the one of the biggest pillar of the game, and it tells you. I mean, this character creation screen that you have at the beginning is something that we plan to rework how it looks because it's a bit confusing. But most people get the gist of it. It actually tells you you need to spend all 9 points because
Yes.
there's no such thing as a completely balanced person.
Yeah.
And we play around with this idea a lot. Not only with the personality system, but with everything in the game. We are different, people. We're like different, each in its own way, and there's no right or wrong in this case. And, I don't know. Impulsive person is not necessarily worse than a calculated person.
Mm-hmm.
Introverted person is not worse than extroverted person or vice versa. It's just like we are different and we master in one field where we fail in another, and uh, the game is about understanding that.
Mm.
This system is made so that it like literally tells you that, and it kind of forbids you to make the best outcome because there's no best outcome.
Yeah.
It's always like you can't. We had a very uh, uh, long discussions about the checks in the game, the personality checks,
Mm-hmm.
and I can talk about it a bit if you want.
Yep.
So there's a success state and a fail state of these checks. And is it
I love the animation for them, by the way. Just to add to that,
aha,
I was really impressed with that. Yeah, I liked
uh,
it.
nice. The question is like, what to the player? What does it mean to succeed something? For example, you get to the receptionist and you can uh, you can try to get her attention, and you fail. So you have to wait now until she finishes the call.
Mm.
So you have to figure out how to wait. You have to, like, I don't know, look through the window, paint the greasy portrait or whatever. There's all like interesting content that you can do,
Mm.
but you failed the initial check.
Yes.
And when you succeed the check, she's like, oh sure, okay, I will see to you now. And when you succeed the check, you miss all this interesting content. Like, is it really like success?
Yeah. Yeah. By your
you
own
know
definition, is it
yeah,
successful? Yeah.
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 So because it's easy in a combat game where you're like shooting at someone and you either succeeded or not.
Mm.
If you didn't, probably he's gonna shoot at you. If you succeeded, he's dead. You can go play more. So here it's we went with like, okay, what are you trying to do with this check? You're trying to get her attention. You will succeed or fail. But to the player, doesn't necessarily have to be the feeling of success. And the biggest how should I say, proof of this is in this Elysium when you go through a check to remember your name and you
Mm-hmm.
failed. And you get the most amazing name in the game that you can put through the rest of the game, and it's a great. You want to fail this check.
Yeah.
If you succeed this check, it's kind of can I reload?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's uh, this is what's interesting about it. Um, the system, I think, in both this Elysium and Rue Valley, works in favor of roleplay and storytelling, not in terms of mathematics and getting the best outcome. And I think this is what maybe even people don't realize it, but they love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's not like, if you're like just a like simple gamer, you want to just play it, you love it. You don't maybe think about like a game designer, like I have to understand it because we're making it, but you just love it,
Yeah.
because the system is telling you a story.
Mm.
And now I'm leading to a very interesting point here, where we realized that the system we made is telling a story in a way that we didn't anticipate at all.
Okay.
And I will give you an example. It's with a receptionist, when you're getting to a point where you need to sign the document, and when you're paranoid, it tells you have to read the document
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
You can't sign it. I want to read the document first. And if you remember, the paranoid trait is on the this decisional scale, which is decisional axis, which is impulsive versus calculated axis.
Mm-hmm.
So this axis has nothing to do with social axis. It's like completely different. It doesn't take into the question the social axis at all. These three axes are completely separate from each other. But this interaction where you don't want to sign before reading uh, is different based on were you introverted or extroverted before.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
it's not different in text. It's not, we didn't make it any checks to see if you were different, if you were introverted or extroverted. It's different of the experience that you have.
Yeah.
Because you approached the receptionist and you were silent and you didn't want to disturb her, you were introverted, and then she asked to sign and you're like, I want to read it first. It feels like you were a bit, awkward guy who, just wants to know what he's signing. He's a bit, calculated, paranoid a bit. Uh, but when you have an extrovert who's banging on the uh, bell, talking over her, trying to get her attention, and she's ignoring him, when he gets to this point where he has to read this document, you in your head feel like he's a loud guy who needs to read this document because I'm not signing until I read it.
Yeah.
And this is what the system made, that this storytelling is based on all this, based on your experience before, based on what you do now, but we didn't prepare for that.
Yeah.
We as developers didn't make these connections, and we say, oh, now it will be different. No, it's the same text. You're reading the same text in different voice.
Yeah. It's
So that was what surprised us in this point. I was like, okay, this system is good.
yeah, because people are then having it imprinted on their minds and imprinting it on the character and and forming it all based on all of those actions. I love that. It's really
Yeah.
really good. Yeah. I just want. I think I've said to you many times. Like I absolutely loved the alpha demo and everything it's shown. So to hear you talk about it in the way you have so far is only adding to the excitement, Marco.
I hope I'm not doing it too much. So
Well, I tell you what, it's all removable. If you feel like you probably said too much, you just let me know.
no. I think we're good. I'm
We're
just saying,
good.
like, getting people excited through the demo. That brings a lot of responsibilities for the rest of the game. So we have to keep the same level of excitement throughout the game.
Yeah.
So it's
So
a lot of work.
yeah, absolutely. No, and huge respect to you for doing it. So we did cover like quite a few elements of the questions I had on Rue Valley there. So I'm going to ask you the next one, and it comes back to your love of sci-fi, and that's around the art style.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the film adaptation of Philip K. Dick's A Scanner Darkly?
Of course.
How much? Because as soon as I played Rue Valley, I was like, it's fucking A Scanner Darkly animation big time. I don't know how much that was an inspiration or whether you're quite glad to have that association now. But
No, I'm glad. I'm glad because I like that. It was one other at the time when Scanner Darkly. This was a how it's called, Waking Life. It was the same.
Yes.
It was the same kind of vibe. Uh, it wasn't a direct, let's say, inspiration. More direct would I would have to say would be the Spider-Verse
Yeah.
movies. I mean the animations, but. What we are trying hardly hard to achieve um, is the look that it's not 3D,
Mm.
that it's drawn by hand as much as we can.
Yeah.
So what we do to achieve all that, so it's kind of all kinds of layers. So as you saw, we draw the locations by hand, so we have artists who are actually drawing things. We draw light. This is maybe the most important thing, because if you have, for example, like games like Borderlands, where you have drawn textures,
Mm-hmm.
but then you have like physically correct light with some like shader based light, you get this kind of vibe. It's not drawn. It's not drawn by hand. Artists wouldn't draw it like this,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So that's why we went with the direction to actually draw as much as we can by hand from this perspective. We also, uh, unlike this Elysium, we made we added a perspective to the game. So it's not completely orthographic.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this kind of parallax, but uh, when you do it like fully, you get this weird like 3D view, like in Baldur's Gate or Divinity or something like that, that you kind of feel the camera above,
Mm-hmm.
So what we did, we have found a way to remove the vertical vanishing point, the third vanishing point. So when you look at the game, all the vertical lines are parallel. So it's kind of something we borrow from the orthographic view, but we keep all the other angles converging. Maybe it's a bit more technical like this, but the result is that you don't have this um, um, shrinking as the things go down. You
Mm-hmm.
have shrinking as things go further away, and it kind of gives you something that it's not really 3D, but it's somewhere in between. So you get this nice parallax, but it kind of keeps the things steady and not converging when they're vertical,
Mm-hmm.
and it pushes it back to this kind of orthographic view, but keeps the parallax. And this was one of the biggest things that we. It's it's so invisible
Mm.
uh, to when you play it, but when you toggle it in engine, when we disable this effect, it looks completely different.
Yeah,
When you
really.
when you see, so it's something that's invisible, but it's there, and it gives it this extra thing that we needed. The other thing that we struggled a lot was the character rendering, which probably mostly reminds you of Scanner Darkly because of these lines that are jiggling.
Yes.
And yeah, this was we have also a complex system for character rendering, and it does have a calculated lighting, so it's not drawn because characters are actually 3D. They have to be, so we could have this all kinds of animations.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but what's interesting is that this light is predefined, has predefined angles. So, for example, if you rotate the light around the character, this character will always be lit from only 4 angles, uh, even if you rotate it in between. So and it gives this. The logic is like this: if you give a comic book artist to draw a character, he's not going to draw a light straight from the camera.
Of course.
He's
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
he's gonna do it from the side. Somewhere interesting. He was gonna do a fill light. He's gonna do a backlight, and we kind of forced the shaders to do that,
Mm.
to try to keep what artists would do. So even though the character is picking up lights from the scene, it doesn't pick from it picks from the nearest angle through the to the predefined angles on the character itself. And then on top of that, we add these lines. Uh, we actually draw them by hand. Three different textures that have lines that are jiggling back and forth. We have it's just like a special stage in a character design process where it goes to a separate artist who is the best in drawing lines, and it's ridiculous that it really goes like this, but he's dedicated. Whenever we have a character that needs to have these lines, it goes to Mikhailo, who is doing that because he mastered it, and it's funny.
Yeah. No, it's amazing to hear how much thought goes. Like, this is the great thing about this podcast, and what I want to highlight quite a lot, certainly moving forward, is just how tricky and how much thought has to go into these things, like these elements of game development that, like these hidden things that are going on under the hood, that we never even think about, right?
Yeah, one more thing I just remembered. We limit the character animation to 15 frames per second, so that it combined with this lighting, it gives how should I say it? You can see the frames with your own eyes. You're not seeing a character walking. You're seeing frames of character animations, and because you can see the frames, you see them. You interpret them individually, and because they're not the perfect smooth motion, you don't see the problems with the shading that usually happen when you have the like 60 fps and everything is like perfect calculated and all that. Here we kind of steal this with the lower frame rate, and it gives this kind of stop motion vibe, and all of that combined gets us to the what we have now. It was a long process to get to this look, like several years of testing and trying and experimenting.
Well, it came off really well. I think the art style is something that has really resonated with myself and a lot of people. Something that got people, quite excited. I think was how it looks. I mean, like, one of the earliest things you had out there was on a YouTube channel, right? Just a very small demo of the lighting coming across.
This is something that we did before even having a publisher. I was running the social media and trying to get some kind of visibility. But even with that, we managed to get to a 2,000 wish lists, which is a very nice number without any kind of marketing.
Yeah, and fully deserved. One more thing on the mechanics, which I forgot to mention in my list actually, is the mind map. What can you? So my impression of that was immediately like an advanced version of the fort cabinet from Disco Elysium. But this one seems to have more context around events and the order of things and your experiencing. Like that, it didn't happen in the demo, but it felt like there were ways to influence what those nodes in the mind map could be or could be telling Mr. Harrow. So yeah, I do wonder if you can just expand on the mind map a little bit and tell us a bit about that.
And probably I will be okay with sharing a bit more than you can see from the demo. Generally the idea was like, okay, it's funny because at first I was always telling myself like, okay, I want the player to like relate to Mr. Harrow, like that I want them to be as close as possible. But the further we went on, like it's not possible because we're making an RPG, we're making a character which is usually different than the player. You can pick the stuff from the personality screen to make it as close as possible to you, but he has a different history. He's in a specific state. When he's thirsty, you need to get him water.
Yeah.
you can say I'm thirsty, I need to get water, but you are controlling this character. If you're currently not thirsty and he is, there's a difference between the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, and then we realize that we need to represent the state of Mr. Harrow in the to the player. And that we have like status effects that kind of shows this kind of bad stuff that is going on around. We need to represent what he knows, what he's thinking about, what he wants to do. And it's usually player who brings him to these decisions and these knowledges, of course, because he's controlling him. But the mind map serves this purpose to explain to the player what our character knows and what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
What he remembers, what he's obsessed about, and that's where the whole system with willpower and using willpower in this, as we call them, intentions. Uh, I mean, you can say it's a quest. Mind map is a bit of like sophisticated journal in an RPG, nothing more.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
but but it does tell a story. If, for example, if we when you begin the game, your mind map is like just a few nodes,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you're further in, it becomes like a cluttered mess of all the information that you gathered around Rue Valley.
Yeah.
And it just the look of it tells you how far you went from nothing to like all of this, and it tells you. Like, okay, yeah, we started from total lack of motivation, we started with like rock bottom, but look where we are now,
Mm.
just by seeing the amount of nodes.
Yes.
So it acts as a storytelling device as well. But the main mechanics behind it is like to show you uh, what is canon for Mr. Harrow. Like, if it's not in the mind map, you can easily say that Mr. Harrow doesn't know it.
Got you.
For example, if you as a player see graffiti on the wall, which is like a random brushstroke that artist put, and we didn't put any interaction on it, and there's no any mentioning of this graffiti in the mind map, then it's not important for the game.
Mm.
It's just a visual flavor that just ended up maybe noticed by some players.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's in mind map, then it means something, and it's an information that might be used somewhere, or it affects something. The second part of the mind map is this intentions, or quests. It's fine to call them, I guess, because it's a usual term for RPGs. Um, uh, this shows you what I possible intentions for Mr. Harrow. What he can do, and it doesn't necessarily need to be something that he will do,
Mm.
because it's like an idea, like I want to learn how to let's say something that I don't know. I want to learn how to play a saxophone.
Yeah.
And it stays there in my mind. And if I don't put any willpower in that, it will never happen.
Oh
You
yes, I'm remembering now the willpower mechanic. Right, that's your
y-
points.
yeah, it's like
Yes.
willpower point, like kind of motivation that you
Yes.
get. Uh, and so we kind of connect these two. Uh, Again, you can see willpower points is level up in the game. Nothing more than that. But we call it willpower because it's uh, connected to the state of the character. And if you start to notice, we use the general RPG mechanics, but flavor them in a way that you can interpret them through real life, mundane, everyday stuff.
Yeah.
I have a total lack of motivation status effect today. I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
What I need, what is necessary for me to get. I need this one willpower point.
Yeah.
Can I get it? I got it while playing Rue Valley. Can I get it in real life? It's
Yeah.
maybe I
Yeah.
can. Maybe if Mr. Harrow, if a disaster of a person can have it, why can't I? And this is my wish. Let's say that after playing Rue Valley, people will kind of get this.
Think about their
terminology.
willpower
Yeah,
points.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not only that, but everything else. Like, oh yeah, I'm actually I was yesterday. I was a reckless person. Why was I a reckless person yesterday? You know.
Mm.
Now, why was I? Wait a minute. Like, yesterday I was at a party, and I was talking to people, but I'm an introvert. How was I talking to? Oh, I was drinking. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like I was tipsy. I was tipsy, and then you kind of. Uh, this is I think this is usually what leads people to making bad decisions is not understanding themselves,
yeah,
and maybe this game will help like understand people understand themselves a bit better.
yeah,
This is my wish. It's not necessary for what's necessary is that this game sells well, but it's my wish is that it can maybe help some people.
yeah. No,
So
that's
that
nice.
that's something that I would like to see somewhere happen.
And I'm sure it will. And again, you just reminded me, and it is. I have to say, it's genius. I really do like the concept. I think it's really clever. When people ask what a disco like is, my immediate kind of thought is, well, actually, it's so much about introspection, that game, and dealing with the human spirit. Like, that's really what I look for. And everyone has their own version of what a perfect disco like is. But I think why I'm so attached to Rue Valley in particular is because of all of the things that you've so beautifully explained. And I've just remembered now, like the whole tipsy thing. You can go and have a swig of whiskey, right, with the therapist, and
Hmm.
then you do switch to extrovert, right, or like you're
It
you can
gives you
respond
plus
like a,
two in extrovert. Yeah,
yeah, with a bit more energy, like excitedly, because you've got the benefit of being tipsy.
it's
No, I
actually
love
it's
that.
actually it's actually funny. A very how should I say uh, a bad message in the game because this is the point where you have anxious apprehension,
Mm,
and it gives you plus two to calculated and plus two to sensitive, which
yeah.
kind of makes sense. You're becoming anxious. You are like overthinking everything. You are uh, sensitive to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you drink whiskey, and okay, whiskey gives you plus two to extroverted,
Mm-hmm.
but it gives you plus one to impulsive and plus one to indifferent, which kind of counters the anxious apprehension a bit.
Mm.
So the message that happens there is that like when you are anxious, you should drink, which is not the great message to tell
No.
people. But I mean, it's a game, of course. I have a like very good explanation for that. Yes, in this, and it's how it works. If you're anxious and drink, you become less anxious.
Yeah.
Uh, but you have a like you're getting drunk.
Yeah.
You're poisoned by alcohol at this point, and in case of Mr. Harrow, he's in a time loop, so this resets when the time loop happens. So uh, if you would do this in real life, it will have lasting consequences.
Good. Yeah,
In
good. Good
in
point.
Rue Valley, yeah, in Rue Valley it won't because there's no lasting consequences in the time loop. But in real life, let's say it officially here, don't drink if you're anxious. It's not the message of the game.
Yeah, it won't solve all the problems. No.
Yeah.
No. Great stuff. And again, just can't contain my excitement, to be honest. So again, yeah, just because you've so brilliantly explained a lot of this stuff, many of my questions have been answered. So I've got a couple more on Rue Valley in particular. Two more that you won't know of because I've just made them up actually, and two
Okay.
more that I had written down. So two that I've just come up with, you can absolutely tell me to go away because 100% me trying to fish for information.
Go for it. Let's try.
Number one, is the game entirely contained at the hotel?
No.
No. Okay.
No. That's. I think we already showed
Oh
in
shit!
some.
Did you? And I missed it.
There's like other locations,
Oh,
of
okay.
course. Um, so it's a bit more rich than just a motel. Um, right as you, I mean, in the demo, if you try to walk up or down the road,
Mm.
you will get that you can't because you don't have motivation for it. You have
Yes.
total lack of motivation. It's our power tool for stopping player doing more than we want in the prologue. But after that, it's available. You can go.
Yes.
You don't know what you're doing there, what you will find there, but there's more locations, more characters.
Hmm.
In total, this might be a wrong number, but it's around 10 locations that we have in the game
Oh,
that you
okay.
can visit. So it's a fairly spacious place. The problem that you have there is when you go to the other locations, you go to these locations later. I mean, you lose time getting to these locations. So it's kind of uh, leaving you less and less time the further the location is from the motel.
Okay.
So it's thing we play around with.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you for that. And you definitely won't tell me this. What is the purple pill, and should we trust it?
Uh, it's it's what it is. It is what it is. It is what it says in the game.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you, but I will.
I will say like this. Yes, it is what it is. But I deserve the right to change stuff from this decision in the game further on.
Yeah, fair enough. Dear. Two more questions you probably will be happy to answer before we talk about the other thing that I really like. So, what are your hopes this year for Rue Valley, its development, and to add to that, do you know when we'll be able to see more, or when we can expect to see more?
Actually, these are the hard questions.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, because yeah, we have these kind of conversations all the time, and to see more, I would have to actually check some plans with the publishers when they were planning to show more. So I would say around summer we will definitely see something.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure in which amount and what. Uh, this is a very vague answer. I'm sorry, but
No, it's fine.
it's maybe before we will get some snip. I don't know. I mean, we usually, if you check our social medias, we kind of have some stuff weekly there. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
special, but sometimes it's something that wasn't shown before. Some new characters, some new locations, and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's the Discord as well, right? Where you're probably the most active is in the Discord, I would say. Seems to be quite
Uh,
regular chat there.
yeah. To be honest, I try to avoid all these things.
Well, I
I
will.
mean,
I'll share them all for everybody.
no. The thing. No. Yeah. Everybody is welcome there. Like, let's all jump in. Yeah, but I know it from a perspective of our community manager posts like some new stuff in the Instagram, what is Twitter or X, how it's called. And because I'm usually logged in on all of these social media, like my phone goes ringing all the time, like the likes, and then I like that. Just like need to work,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
So, but I also, I can turn it off, but I don't. The question is why I don't, because I want to see. I like to know what do people like it.
Yeah.
It's very important for me to see the reception of the people.
Yes.
So, yeah.
No. Thank you. I don't have any more questions on Rue Valley. Thank you so much for giving us as much detail as you have there. I'm super duper excited to see it. I can't wait to see more. And I'm sure.
I really, sorry, really wish that I could tell you more stuff, but getting into spoiler territory, and it's not really
Hey,
uh,
I said the same thing to
for
Argo,
marketing.
right? I kind of would be shooting myself in the foot by demanding these spoilers because obviously
Yeah.
I'm someone who wants to play them too. So no, I'm quite happy to just touch on the surface level. So I want to ask you now about, believe it or not, Disco Elysium. You talked a little bit about its inspiration on Rue Valley already, but what I want to do is first of all take you to a story that a mutual friend of ours told me about you, and you've got the photos to prove it. But the now elusive Robert Kurvitz, Alexander Rostov, was it Helen as well? But I know that
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you've met all three of them more than once, I believe, and spent some time together.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
tell us all about that. That must have been wonderful for you as a fan of the game.
Yeah, it was like completely unexpected, but we have a saying that Branislav, who is the friend of mine who works with me and the partner in the company, we always have these kind of lucky situations where it kind of works in our favor. We had the thing with the publisher that just happened out of nowhere, completely unexpected, and this also. So yeah. Uh, uh, Alexander Rostov and Robert Kurvitz were in Belgrade completely out of the blue,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend of ours who works in the studio who made Scorn.
Yep.
He was, I can't remember the actual connection how he got to them, but they ended up meeting all the let's say local game developers here, small or big or doesn't matter. And he called us and he's like, guys, we have uh, guys from this Elysium here. I want to meet them. Well, how is that a question? And I mean, I'm like careful when you have to meet people who are let's say a bit famous
Yeah.
and kind of your idols at some point. And I while I'm fine, it happened. People who, for example, played Helion. When I added them on Steam, they were overjoyed. Having me as a developer of Helion on Steam, blah blah. Blah. But I don't like to be that guy.
Yeah,
You,
I know what
you
you
know,
mean.
and I was like, if they're fine with meeting us, I was like, okay. If they're not, I don't want to like intrude or anything.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is that they were like, okay, let's have a meeting of like several game developers here, and they wanted to. Uh, they didn't want to like meet at some restaurant or something like that. They wanted to go and look at um, architecture of Belgrade. It's kind of brutalism in the one part of the Belgrade. They wanted to see it and like let's have a walk. You know,
Mm.
and it was very interesting. To like suggestion.
Mm.
It's not something you expect as how should I say, as a like a uh, any kind of meeting, mingling, gathering. It's just like let's have a walk through a random Belgrade architecture, which is like half disaster at some point. So at some point it looks nice, but it's very weird. The weirder thing was that it was like 35 degrees outside, so it was extremely hot. Like it wasn't a day to hang out outside, but
Yeah.
we went with it. Uh, I want to tell you how I felt at the point, because I always thought that you can't be a normal person and make this Elysium. There's gotta be something wrong. There's gotta be you gotta have to be some way crazy. But and it was like I was a bit afraid. Like if I'm gonna tell them like I'm making a game based on like inspired by your game, will they be okay with that? How will they uh, see that? I have no
Mm.
idea. And I was overthinking which T-shirts to wear. If I will wear something that has some kind of I don't know what, will they be like, who is this guy? Who is he trying? What is he trying to say? This is a very very weird thoughts going through my head. The real experience is like completely different, I have to say. like they are completely normal people, which is still like hard to connect with Disco Elysium, but they are like normal people like you and me. Like they can have that everything with them is like extremely positive.
Mm.
Uh, uh, they What was also funny that uh, you as a developer of Disco Elysium, you probably earned some money. You're not like someone who's gonna prefer public transportation over taxi or something,
Yeah.
But they want to see, they wanted to see how public transportation in Belgrade is. They took a bus and got to the place where we met them, and like a completely normal conversation started. We were walking around, looking at, talking about random buildings in Belgrade, and that was pretty much it for this day. We sat at some coffee place afterwards, and then that's when I actually had the conversation about Rue Valley with Robert at first. And the first thing that he said kind of blew my mind, because I was expecting some philosophical conversation about the themes in the game or something like that. And he
Yeah.
asked me like, do you guys plan to do voice acting?
Mm.
And I'm like, that's a very straightforward question, and he's not asking me from a perspective of uh, crazy game designer, narrative designer, whatever. He's asking about uh, business decision.
Mm.
He learned or knew in some way that um it's hard to sell this kind of game if you don't have voice acting. It's a lot of text, and even people who like to read a lot, it's hard to actually keep in track. If you put voice acting, it makes the game much more approachable.
You get asked it a lot, don't you, about the voice acting? I've noticed.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Not gonna answer it
Hmm.
yet. uh, as you saw in the demo, we had some experiments with voice acting, so there will be voice acting. In which amount, this is still uh, up to changes. So, but and I agree with him completely. You can't. You can be a genius and make an amazing text, but if you really want to get this game to a broader audience, you need to have voice acting. It's necessary. That's how some standards need to be let's say respected today. And
Yeah.
it was interesting because it was like a normal conversation between people who made games.
Yeah.
uh, so there was this was only yeah. And I have to say about Rostov, he's such a fun guy to hang out with. um, uh, we I It's weird, I was showing him art in Rue Valley on the phone because we were like walking through a park, and he was like uh, zooming in, checking stuff, like being interested in how we did this and that, and uh, my idea that they will maybe not like people using their game as a reference,
Mm-hmm.
like was completely demolished at this point, because like they were. And this a quote from Robert Kurwitz. He turned to me, we were in the car, he turned to me, he said, I realized that we made a platform for writers to earn money.
Hmm.
uh, because the discussion was about uh, how this Elysium moved possibilities for making complex stories in game without like the high production that is needed in the AAA games. You can make I can freely say that this Elysium has better story than a lot of AAA games,
Yeah.
and people know it.
Yeah.
People see it. It was nominated for, no, it won four, how many? Four,
It's
eight
it
game awards. I
won an
can't remember.
absolute ton. Yeah, BAFTAs and all sorts. It won huge amount of awards. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is visible, and he was like pleased about it. I told him about the glass house as well at this point,
Yep.
and he was like, yeah, we made a platform for writers to earn money.
That's an
you know
interesting, such an interesting way of looking at it because actually, I mean, he's right. Um, because people often talk about Disco Elysium and its uh, similarities to a novel. And
Mhm.
I can't help but then reflect on the fact that the poor guy had to pulp most of the copies of his book, right? And then goes and makes something like Disco Elysium. And you put that quote somewhere in the middle from Robert Kurvitz, and you can see how he went on that journey in his mind, right? He's like, well, I wrote what is a pretty good book. But actually, where I made my money was like my writing actually flourished in this platform, and he rightly showed everybody that it can be done.
Yeah, and I mean, you're the first guy. I mean, who knows that how many Disco-like games exist now.
Mm.
You're trying to gather them all right now, so you know how many uh, projects it triggered.
Yes.
So, and I can't say that it's a bad thing in any way.
No, of course not.
It's for everybody it works.
Mm.
For the consumers, for gamers, I mean, for developers, for everybody, it's like okay, great, we can, just something that we can play around with. Yeah, there will be shitty games. There are shitty games all over the place.
Yeah.
So someone will use this and make a bad game. What can we do? But maybe someone will figure out and like do another masterpiece as Disco is. So, uh, not saying it's Rue Valley. Uh,
It might be.
uh, I think the, uh, what I always say, Disco went uh, in like not too much, like the language barrier is here a bit in very big amount of details in this world that they created.
Mm-hmm.
This the politics as well. It's like the game is like, you can't say that this Elysium is not a game about politics and uh, different statements and all that. um, while Rue Valley tries to grasp this amount, but about the individual.
Yes. Yeah.
This is what where we drastically differ from Disco, because it's like we don't have this rich world. We have very small world and just 47 minutes of it.
Mm.
So, and we're not talking about what happened years before, we're talking about what's happening now with this character and how he is going through his things, and we are using the same platform. So it's very different. um, I could easily be I could easily say, like, this is like watching two different movies. You
Mm.
have movie as a platform and you're watching two different movies.
Yeah.
So it's not you can't say we're like, okay, in this movie there's actors acting, in this movie there's actors acting. So in our game you can move the player and read the text. In this case you can move the player and read the text. So it's a platform, but the content is, it can be anything,
Yeah.
and they made it possible. I saw what's the game called? Uh, this D&D inspired about the cleric.
Oh, esoteric ebb.
Yeah, it's a recap.
Yes.
Uh, it's a completely different thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I love the style. I love the like. It's a great like. I forgot the name of the guy, but it's like
Christopher
um,
Bodegard, his name
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He figured it out. Like, oh, I can use this.
Yeah.
It works. So that's it's very very nice thing that they made for everybody else.
No, I like that. Really, really like that. Particularly your point around that difference with disco is about a world, right? And they spent a long time building it. And I like that yours is about in
Mhm.
here and people. But yeah, it's you're absolutely right. It's a great platform, and I hope it continues to
Uh,
flourish.
I just remember. That was one time when we met them. The first time we met them, we
Mm-hmm.
had this like amazing walk through Belgrade, and it was like, yeah, introducing uh, ourselves, and it was like, okay, now we know each other, you know.
Mm.
And we met there. Oh, I'm not gonna say that. Sorry. Uh, Almost went something that I don't even know if I can say.
Yeah.
Um, so not gonna go there. But they um came once more to Belgrade, and they decided to visit our studio.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, okay. So now it's not just like you're meeting on the street. Like they're coming to like visit us, sit with us, hang out with us, and we asked them if they want to play the demo of Rue Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time it was Robert and Helen. They came, and um Yuan, she was a producer on this Elysium. Uh, this experience was amazing because uh, I could actually show them like firsthand stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and Robert was immediately, oh, isometric graphics. He saw in our artist's screen, like he was drawing something like isometric graphics. He's such a fan of this
Yeah.
old isometric I mean, I am too, but to see it immediately, with him, um, it was such a, we're there, we know each other, we get it.
Yeah.
And we spent some time. We used the same tools to make the game. They used Artsy Draft. We also use it for Rue Valley. If some of the RTC people that I met will watch this, I will say hi to them because they make this happen also. It was like a very long conversation about technical stuff, how we did uh, things in Rue Valley, how they did things in Disco Elysium. I'm proud to say that we learned on their mistakes.
Mm.
That's because I'm a bit more like I'm trying to make things tidy, but uh, when I show them how our uh, dialogue schemes work and how much work, I mean, we put like 3 years into perfecting this like platform so we can make this kind of content.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Robert was like, okay, we had like spaghetti monsters all over the place. Like this is like all tidy and perfect. Like we had like it all over the place, and I can imagine it, because the story of making disco is how should I say, um, a bit chaotic in places, and
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense, and it can't not be.
Mm.
It has to be to get this kind of uh, experiment they did. They did it like from out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They had to figure it out, and it can't be all tidy because they don't, you don't have anything to lean on to, like we have. So I immediately realized, aha, so they do like these things like this, they do things like this. Let's try to figure out how to do this the best way. And this was very interesting. And then after all this conversation, they started playing the demo,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, I mean, I hope it wasn't so cringy to them as it looked for me. That the whole studio was like around Robert watching him play. It's like they're all like, will he like it? How he will react? But
Yeah.
but I just loved how he played. Because he was. Uh, he's a big guy. He's a very tall guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he was sitting like in this chair like very how should I say, it wasn't. It looked like it was a bit awkward because he's so big, But for him, I assume it's like completely natural, He was like feeling at home, and if I remember, he was constantly checking what he can interact with. This was like I want to see all like I was like, why can't we just put a toggle on interaction so they're always like glowing, Um, but his reaction when he uh, when he removed anxious apprehension and total lack of motivation, when he got this one willpower, he was like, yes, like I'm achieving something, and I was like, I mean, everybody will do that because it's scripted, but the expression on his face, was like, I'm into this game. I get it,
Yeah, yeah.
And I love what Helen said. She was in the other room. We put them into separate rooms, but everybody was interested in how Robert was playing. But my friend was with Helen all the time, and she came back and she said, like, it's so weird that you feel at home when you're playing Rue Valley after this Elysium. You feel like everything is pretty much there. There's no kind of questions. You read a text, you choose dialogues, but the story is new. It's not for them. I get it because I also have this problem right now, because now when I play Rue Valley, for me it's just clicking, skipping through everything to check if something works.
Yeah.
I don't have this feeling of playing the game, and they also didn't in Disco. They were making it. They couldn't play it properly, as we all of us did. But in Rue Valley, they felt that they actually playing. And it was a very, very how should I say, interesting for them that it feels like Disco, but it isn't. It's something that it's a new story. It's an interesting thing that you can play with. And yeah, they both completed the demo. This was I mean, the biggest problem with Rue Valley demo is that it's hard not to complete it. It kind of moves you to the end, and it has this cliffhanger at the end that is how should I say, sneakily set up.
Okay.
That it kind of leaves you wanting more.
Yes.
And this is the feedback we got from a lot of people. Like 99% of people will, after playing the demo, like, I want to play more.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, of course, this is a great thing, but I kind of feel it is a bit of a cheat. Because that's how it is. It's set up like that. It's set up to make you want more.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it?
You can't have this in the game. If you do this thing wrong, then you're probably not going to do the rest of the game properly. So this is but yeah, they loved it. And sometime after Rostov on its own came again, and then we had our geek session of going to the every nook and cranny of how art works in Rue Valley. And I even implemented some of the things that he was asking me that I didn't want to have. It's like characters casting shadows on themselves. I thought that it wasn't necessary, but he at some point he was like, but do they cast shadows on themselves? I said, like, no, because they're so small. It's not necessary. Oh, I would make them cast shadows on themselves, and then eventually we is. So yeah,
yeah.
It was funny again because they were with some people, with some friends of theirs. I mean, Rostov at one point with two other guys who we actually met before, and of course the full studio of us here, and everybody is interested in like our guests, and we are sitting in a very small room, like 10 people trying to look what we're doing, and I'm like trying to show him all the like shaders and like technical stuff about art. Like I turn around and it's starting to get hot because everybody is here, and it's like, and we're geeking out. It's just going all over the place, and yeah, and then we went to a beer after that. So yeah, and Rostov is a very positive guy.
Yeah.
You can see how um, I can't, I don't know, you can't uh, not feel uh, like you can't not smile when we hang out with
Oh,
him.
that's nice.
He has this huge hat that he's wearing,
Yeah.
and it makes the whole thing funnier.
Yeah.
And he's, I mean, yeah. So it was a very nice experience. We uh, like exchange a few messages from time to time. I see usually Rostov, he's active in social media, so he's liking our posts and stuff like that. He's tracking how things are going on, and hopefully we will meet again.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to remember. I mean, the whole experience lasted like for some time, but um, it was. Let me try to remember. Not last year, the year before. It was 2023.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it was
Just
summer
about.
summer
Yeah.
of 23, and I think Rostov was here in beginning of the last year, something like that,
Oh,
like
okay.
March or February or something like that. And yeah, yeah. I just remembered. Ioana, who's the producer, she was. I think she was. I might be wrong here, but she told me that she was in charge of Final Cut, but I might be wrong here.
Hmm.
And this was a very interesting conversation because we were just chatting, and I said like how much things we did to improve this RTC that we use for dialogues.
Yep.
This because we went over the board. We completely made some plugins for it, and she was like, "Wait a minute, like, can you explain me a bit more detail what you did?" And I started explaining, and she's like, "Why didn't we have this?" I'm like, I mean, I don't know, but I'm a geek for these things. I want things to be sorted, to be perfect, to be like flexible and scalable, so that we can actually make a big game with like making a platform that we can like. I can give this to writers, and I say like, okay, you are doing this part of the quest, whatever. You have all the tools for it. I don't need you don't need to be a programmer
Hmm.
because when you're making a dialogue that needs to have a logic, you kind of need these programmer skills, and we managed to get this to a minimum. This was my goal from the beginning, because my experience in working with people is not to teach them my way, but to improve their way.
Yes.
To get them as comfortable as I can, and to get from them the best they can do in their own way. So not kind of ask them to change whatever they learn to do, and it's not an easy thing to do because it's messing up with mixing pipelines and all that. But when your kind of whole idea about how the studio works is based around that, kind of works.
Mm. Yeah. Amazing stories. I'm extremely jealous of the time that you've been able to spend with those people, because it sounds like just the idea of just walking around looking at architecture in Belgrade. Yeah, sounds lovely.
They're awesome. They're awesome. All of them. It just I told you I thought that who knows, I don't know, people who make huge things don't always end up like nice persons. I don't know. So I was kind of careful at the beginning. Who knows? But like hanging out with them, it's just like I love that I can say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
It would be very awkward if I would have to like, yeah, they're fine, but let's talk about something else.
yeah. No.
Yeah,
I'm glad you were able to share,
yeah.
and the fact they've shown such an interest in your game, I think speaks volumes. So more reasons to be excited about Rue Valley, of course.
I hope they just weren't just nice,
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
mean, we spent a lot of time, and we were like really, discussing about it, like, and they came back. I mean, especially Rostov, who was interested in the art, like to, he's uh, how should I say? He knows his shit about art.
yeah. I
He
watched
is.
him do a
He is.
conference. Did you see his present? I can't remember where it was now, but he did a
Was
conf.
here.
Was it there? Was it? Ah,
It was in
okay.
Belgrade. It was in Belgrade.
Yeah,
Yeah, I couldn't make
fascinating.
it. I couldn't make it, but that's when he was here.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it was the day before the conference. Uh, yeah, he- when he is going into details about something that we are doing here, and like being excited about it, that tells something.
Yeah.
So I think we're on the right track.
No, I think so. I think you're
Yeah.
definitely on the right track. Um, all right, so I'm going to ask some very specific Disco Elysium questions now, because I'm conscious we've got to 2 hours. So when did you? I mean, I know you played it first time in 2019, Disco
Mhm.
Elysium. So we're digging into the archives, but can you remember? I mean, you were an early adopter, which is rare for guests on here. So I'm curious how you discovered it and what were your initial impressions when you first played it.
Trying to remember how I heard about it. I think I bought it like t- like second or third day from the release.
Okay.
I saw the video. I heard about it from someone. I can't remember who it was. Someone in the uh, office that I worked at the time probably said about something about. I can't remember. Uh, but I watched the video of some YouTuber. I wish I could mention him right now. I forgot. It's the guy who talks very fast. Doesn't matter. But in any case, he did a very detailed review about it. I watched it. I remember I was on my couch watching it on an iPad, and it was like I watched through the video. I stood up, went to the PC, and bought the game.
Oh
So
wow.
that
So is
that
that?
that, that, that was the decision. So it wasn't um, like I want to play this. This was like from this. It wasn't. I didn't know. I didn't learn anything about the game from this video. I saw the excitement of this reviewer,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I have to try it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a bit skeptical, just a bit, because I realized that it's uh, indie game.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not a AAA game. That it's like uh, I don't know, but I was skeptical about the production value, and this is why I was amazed by uh, this Robert's line about voice acting,
Mm.
because when I started the game, we all know what happens when you start Disco Elysium. You have this amazing voice acting and amazing setup for the beginning. That okay, then I from this moment I knew that my money was well spent.
Yeah.
It wasn't because it wasn't cheap. It was how much, 40 euros, if I
Yeah, so
remember
full
correctly.
full price really at the time.
Yeah, and I was like, did I spend my money correctly right now? And these first few lines of this amazing, uh, I forgot the name of the,
Ancient
uh,
reptilian brain.
no, the voice actor. I forgot the name of
Oh,
the.
what? Mikey Goodman or
Yeah, I think.
Lenville Brown. So
Uh,
no, Lenville didn't come in till Final Cut, but Mikey Goodman would have
yes,
done. Yes, sorry.
yes. Uh, and that moment, I was like, okay, I'm playing this. You know, 40 hours later, I'm having my phone full of screenshots from random text, and people, when I showed them to people were like, why do you have so much images of text?
Yeah,
Because it was easier for me to just to
grab
take
it.
a
Yeah,
photo of the screen and have it close to me. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I can talk more about, but I'm waiting for you to ask questions about.
yeah. Of course, yeah, because you'll end up answering them all. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
totally fine. So okay, who's your favorite character in the whole game, Marco?
It has to be Kuno. It can't be anybody else.
Yes, I love
I
Kuno.
mean, I ended the game with him as
I
a
did you?
companion.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is weird because I love Kim. I
yep,
mean, everybody loves him. You can't. This character is made so that you love him.
yeah.
But he ended up shot, and he didn't die. They drove him to hospital, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's
Or
right. He's
yeah,
injured.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And then I ended up with Kuno, and getting the respect from Kuno is an achievement in the game. On its own, like you feel that you made something possible. Your actions do matter. This crazy kid is now like respecting you.
yeah,
This is that's why I like him the most. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, there's a bunch of characters that are great, but yeah, you can't miss Kuno. But actually, uh, what's interesting, I don't know if you know this fact. Uh, we of course did a lot of research about this Elysium. We were mostly concerned for Rue Valley about uh, you know the length of the game.
Mm,
Because it's a RPG. It can't be like 4 hours long.
mm.
It needs to be something that you will live in
Yes.
for some time.
Yeah.
And I was, trying to like get some numbers. How much content did we need to make this a proper game? So that we don't miss the point and kind of end up making too much or too little. But so we watched a few speedruns of this Elysium,
Yes.
and it's a disaster. Uh, I hate speedrunners in any kind of games. I mean, not hate, but it's like just not my thing. I like to play the game to feel it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a game on its own. Speedrunning is a game on its
It's a
own.
different art. It's like its own little art form, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can we found a speedrunner who finished the game in 40 minutes, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't even click on Kuno
Yeah.
once. So you can finish the whole Disco Elysium without clicking on Kuno.
Yeah. What a tragic decision
Yeah,
that is.
that's I mean, from a designer point, it's very interesting because I can't imagine playing a game like that and not clicking on this crazy character.
Mm.
And like I'm the kind of guy, I mean, starting from Grim Fandango and these kind of adventures, where every now and then when I do some quest or something, I will come back to Kuno just to check
Yeah.
if there's something new
If it's
happening
something
there.
else, yeah,
Because I'm interested in this character. I want to check, like, is he okay? Is everything fine here?
yeah,
Does he have some new information for me or some new request or something? I just want to check. And even if you're like not liking this character, you have to click on him at least once. But yeah, you can finish the game without clicking on him, which is amazing.
yeah. No, I wouldn't miss Kuno for the world. And I my journey with Kuno was I felt very much like the resistance nature of him the first time, but he like when you first started it, he just seems to be, and maybe it's my Britishness and the association with Scousers, as I talked about with Argo. But he was like just a typical British kid who was trying to annoy me. So it took some warming up to him. But there's so many great little lines that he has and insults that it's hard not to like fall in love with him. The more and more you talk to him. But yeah, I was like you. I was like, I wonder if he likes me yet. And I'd go back and like, do you like me yet, kid? Like, please like me. Yeah. So, nah, huge fan of Kuno. Do you know what I find interesting though? That not one person has picked this character as their favourite yet, and it's Harry.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day, I was like, well, actually, I get it because it's kind of like saying, well, I was my favourite character, right? Because a lot of Harry is a reflection of you. Well, almost
Mhm.
all of it is a reflection of you. But there is still a version of Harry that you are influenced and in control. A little bit like how you explained Mr. Harrow. There is a Mr. Harrow that exists before you open the game up, right? And there is a version of Harry that exists. But yeah, it's funny that no one ever mentions Harry.
Yeah, because yeah, I noticed interesting thing that my friend who is working as a writer here, when he played Disco, his Harry was like a very different character than mine.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
this might be um, the because I kind of related to this character, and I don't find him that much different than me.
mm,
Because I was in charge of making decisions.
yeah,
You know? So one interesting thing that I just remember, uh, I like to say about Rue Valley and Disco as well. How we managed to get the trope of not trope, the like probably necessary thing in RPGs that you have a clean slate at the beginning.
mm,
Disco went with the amnesia trope as people would say that it's overused, but they did it perfectly.
it's effective,
It
isn't it? Yeah,
it's not no, but not only that, but the way they did it.
mm,
That usually you're like, I don't know, you were in a car crash and you don't remember, and it's something like that. But they were like, just this guy had a night, he was passed out of his mind, and
yeah,
he doesn't remember things. It's such a, you know, uh, character setup, you
yes,
know, and we were struggling with that a lot. We even had, I'm like ashamed to say that we even had a version which starts with Mr. Harrow uh, having a car crash,
mm,
which I'm completely fully glad that we went with the other direction. But so we tried to do it in a different way. Mr. Harold doesn't have an amnesia or anything. He just doesn't want to remember. He
okay,
put things under the rug, and if you go into the mind map with this subconscious part of the mind map where there are some vague memories, it's like something is there, but he doesn't want to show it.
yeah,
And as in Disco, you have like a disaster of a person who is drunk and passed out of his mind. Um this way that they manage this beginning works for the character here as well. The way that Mr. Harrow doesn't want to remember,
Hmm.
and I mean he starts at the therapy,
Yeah.
and that he doesn't actually want to be on, so it kind of works in favor of the character development, so I think we both managed to uh, use it to our advantage,
Yeah.
to have this kind of clean slate where player can feel comfortable moving from, but still to have it explained in that it works toward the progression of the character. Uh, yeah, were you?
I was about to ask you another question, but I was waiting if you finished your
Go on,
point. Yeah.
go on,
No,
go on.
it's. I agree with you, by the way, and I also think the time loop thing probably helps as well because, and I mean, I'm just speaking from the demo here, but it feels like you could appear in Mr. Harrow's life at any moment if he's in a time loop, right? So I also think that works quite well, combined with the therapy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, agreed. All right. Thank you for championing Kuno. I'm always a big Kuno backer, so glad to have that. Was there a particular story, subplot, quest, something in particular about the game that you remember enjoying that stuck out to you?
There's a lot. Uh, I can mention two that I kind of really stand out. Uh, One, and you will notice that my um, how should I say, tendencies to go more toward an individual than about the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the best interactions was when you have to go. Having trouble remembering the details. You have to go to tell this lady that her husband died.
The working class woman. Yeah.
Yeah, this was the how this interaction was about. Like Kim is also very nicely written there, where you play this person who's like everything else but not a cop. But in this moment, he is. I mean, at least my playthrough was like that. That
Mm-hmm.
that, that I managed to uh, keep it together and do this thing as like best as it can.
Yep.
And this dialogue was like amazingly written. Um, and yeah, this is maybe one of the most favorite parts of the game where uh, you can see the change
Mm.
in Harry, because it's like at least he's in this point he managed to do something proper, you know. And I love how this is done. Also, the the moment when you call the phone number on the payphone,
Mm.
and um, I
There's a couple of moments in there that are.
it's when you actually it's questionable, is it to actually reach the ex-wife,
Yeah.
but this moment where you uh, I'm trying to remember when you finish this call and then you try to call again,
Yeah.
and it goes even deeper into like
I think
and I
you can
remember
call her 3 times, but the
yeah,
third
something
time it
something like
fails.
something like
Yeah.
yeah. And I remember my favorite lines is when you click on the payphone again, and he just, I think the narrator just said like life is garbage,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's like just like nicely put everything in this for like this is the state of uh, this character right now, and I just love it. I just love it how this part is done.
I think.
I have a we have a you the interaction with the soggy sock that you get, where you get the soggy sock in the demo
Yes. Yep.
with these garbage bins, um, because for every small part of the game we kind of have a uh, let's say a design element, a name for it, you
Yeah.
know. in this part of the game is called Life is Garbage.
Ah,
So it was kind of inspired by not, and it doesn't have anything to do with it, but I had to use this line somewhere. I didn't want to use it in the game, so it internally in our organization it's called Life is Garbage.
oh, I love that. It's very good.
So,
Just to remark a little bit on the two that you've chosen, and in particular with the working class women, I liked that you pointed out the shift that you see in Harry, and I always felt it was so well conveyed that moment that the shift actually happens in you because you've been messing around on this silly drunk cop adventure for all this time as well, right? You're also just as guilty of Harry as being absurd or wild as possible in conversations, and then all of a sudden you're faced with something that I think most people across the world feel uncomfortable with. And when I look at police officers, people have different opinions on the police all across the world, but you know, imagine your job involves telling loved ones that people that their loved ones are gone. I always think no matter what, that's got to be a really, really tough thing to do. And then the game's kind of like, and with Kim as the vehicle saying, this is police work, this is what you do. And I was like, shit, he's talking to me. I've got to do it. And you can even try and back out of it. He's like, no, someone's got to do it, and we're the people. So yeah, I completely agree. It was Helen's test character, the working class women. So they all had like a test character assigned to them. So yeah, Helen was working class women. I think it's a beautiful part of the game. Excuse me, I've managed to get a frog in my throat in the last half an hour. The other one with the call. Yeah, it's interesting. You kind of, because obviously everyone talks about like the build up to it, but I really like that moment resonated with you so much because again, it's about Harry and his past and his feelings, and like he keeps kind of reaching for this positive thing that he once had. And no matter how much he tries, like, and it comes from not being able to accept that it's gone, right? He keeps reaching for it, and every time he fails to reach it, he probably ends with that same thought: "Life is garbage," because that's exactly how it makes him feel. No, it's two great shouts there.
It's an interesting point from let's say a design perspective. You don't have to click on this payphone more than once. Nobody's forcing you.
Yeah.
But when you click, there's an option. And it's kind of, it's not forcing you, of course, but it's tempting. It's tempting you to click, and we also play with that a lot. This is what I discussed with Robert a lot. That options that you don't choose in are something that you think about.
Yes.
You get it. So it's 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 there, and we often use it like, okay, let's not gonna spoil, but something that is an option in the game that would kind of let's say progress the emotion with some character. You don't have to force the player to do it. You can just show that there's an option. In player's mind, he's like, okay, if I do this with this character, what's it gonna be? It's the story is already developing. He doesn't even have to choose it, but to have this option is already like a lot of it is told.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of like telling stories in the game, that you don't have, it's not, if you would transfer this Elysium to a novel by one player's playthrough, it wouldn't be the same as actually playing it. Because there wouldn't be options that he didn't choose. But you as a player seeing this option, you are like, okay, so I can try the payphone again. Do I want to do that?
Yeah.
And then you do it, and then it shows up again. and like the okay, they told me that the last time was a disaster. Why am I doing it again? And I'm doing it again. So it's such a great medium for storytelling. It's like nothing else.
Yeah. No, agreed. Um, is there apart from "Life is garbage"? Is there a particular line or quote from the game that you
Uh,
love?
I do love I can't remember the actual quote, but how the first description of Kim you get.
Oh, the if an assault were launched on this building right now,
Yes,
if the
yes, that's one.
windows came crashing down and the whole
Yeah, that's one.
world descended around you, this man would put himself in death's way to save you. You are sure of this, but why? Is it that quote that I know word for word?
That's one. That's one. I mean, it's because lots of reasons. Because it's nicely written, of course, but it's a like perfect setup for this character.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's you don't even know it yet. The thing is, when this quote became my favorite,
Go on.
when I started it again, when I started from the beginning.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
I probably skimmed through it, or just I read it and I was like, okay, sure, whatever, But the next time when when you met
Everything.
this person,
Yeah.
like you're like, okay, this here is so true,
Mm.
you know, and yeah, that's
That's a great pick, by the way, because obviously I've shown how much I like it, but it's the first time anyone's brought it up, but I fucking love that. I'm exact same as you. Didn't think much of it the first time, but then once you understand what Kim is, yeah, it's brilliant.
I mean, I probably had lots of favorites when I was playing it, but after how many, like 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
this one, like I knew that this one is uh the one that stuck.
Yeah, yeah. No, great shape. Now you are. Before I move on to the next one, favorite piece of music from the soundtrack? Do you enjoy the soundtrack?
Of course I love the soundtrack. It's great. Sometimes like play it in the background
Yeah,
just to like keep the mood. But I love the I don't remember the names, but uh when you exit the whatever cafeteria, whatever.
instrument of
Uh,
surrender is the big horns.
yes,
Yes.
yes, it's so iconic. It's I love how they made it so you hear it all the time,
Yeah,
like and it's never boring. It's just like every time it's so nice.
yeah. And it's got like because so the soundtrack's like this weird edit slash amalgamation of newish stuff, old stuff, and remixes, right? And I like that there are loads of elements from a song called "Cleaning Out the Rooms," and you have like this feeling that you hear the same thing all the time, but you're not, and it's just different enough that they took these different sections of the same song
Mhm.
that like, and then it doesn't get boring. Like it's only if you're really paying attention. Like the nighttime one is slightly more down tempo and things like that. But I always felt, just to expand on your point a little bit, it's what helped to make the world feel familiar. Like
Mhm.
it's got this weird kind of thing that Fallout went for, where it's like faux, like the technology, the path of technology went. Let's in Civ terms. Let's imagine you're like stuck, like you went down that way on the technology tree, right? That's how I see it. And Disco
Yeah.
Elysium feels familiar, despite being, a world that you've never been to. And I think it like even the music made that like everything feel more and more familiar and like a real world, right?
There's a uh, uh, thing that in Resident Evil games
Hmm.
you have this save room
Yes.
music that when you hear it, you're like, okay, now I'm safe.
Yeah.
Now everything will be fine. Yeah, and this is exactly that. You just at first it's like very nice and interesting piece of music, but as you play along and as you like start hitting it more and more again, you're like, okay, I'm in this world. I know my stuff. I don't, I don't want to go explore now. I know where things are. I've been everywhere. I'm doing what I want to do, and I know where I am, and I feel safe where I am because also this music is
Yeah.
here as it was before. Yeah, so.
I just want to say, by the way, Resident Evil 2 remake,
Mm-hmm.
I bought the classic sound pack for that.
Uh,
And the save room is an obvious one, but what really, I didn't realize how homely and comforting, the main hall of the Raccoon City
uh-huh.
Police. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah, yeah.
realize how much that meant to me, and when I switched the music, I was like, oh
I
God.
recently, I recently, and I've not played it through, but played it a bit. Um, there's this like very cheap small consoles that you can buy for
Oh yeah.
with retro games, and it runs PlayStation 1 games. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, Resident Evil 2, let's go to the police station and just like,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, great game. One of my favorites of all time. Love that. Um, so two more questions, and then you're free to go. So, as a game designer yourself, I'm interested if there was anything that you would criticize Disco Elysium for, or perhaps change, or maybe do differently.
Uh, the only thing that I kind of found annoying in this Elysium was the randomness of the checks, the and not the, so it's a complex answer. You of course you will get a complex answer from me. I'm sorry. The dice rolling is an amazing thing there, and they did it perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see that you see this how something is going on. Something is you see you hear some
Yeah,
sound
like the
effect.
whirring, like the
Yeah,
machinery working.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And the effect and all that, it made great. The problem I have with I ended up at some point trying to unlock the door that this bunker door or what was it that you can't open.
Oh yeah,
Uh, yeah,
yeah,
and I saved scum to get the success,
yeah.
and it was bothering me a lot. And yeah, and the whole system with white checks that you can repeat them
Mm-hmm.
uh, by investing points.
But then the red
With
checks are gone forever.
no, with red checks, I'm fine,
Yeah.
but white checks with ability to save scum.
Mm.
And I was hoping somehow that they could uh, kind of similar thing with what is done in XCOM when
Oh yeah.
in XCOM, if you reload save, you will get the same result if you try the same thing. So you can't just save scum one thing. But here isn't. Um, this mechanic still feels awkward to me with upgrading skills to get through white checks again.
Mm.
I think that this is something that um, could have been like thought through more in more detail. But I'm not saying that it's necessary for the game to be better. It's just that you asked me mechanics that I think is not perfect.
Yeah. No, I agree.
That one would be. Uh, we are also we in Rue Valley we're also struggled with that. We kind of made our decision about it, so we don't use randomness at all
Mm.
on checks, and the checks in our game are either all red checks. So when once you do a check, that's it.
Yep.
Because we spent a lot of time thinking about, okay, I failed the check. How can I come back again to pass a check.
Mm.
You know, and without harming the narrative.
Mm.
You know, without it becoming a grinding game.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, okay, now I'm too impulsive for this check. I'm gonna try to make myself anxious so I can pass this check. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah.
You know, players would literally try. Okay, so I have to pass this check, so I will go try to make myself anxious. But you know, people don't go
You
make
don't just go and
themselves.
become anxious. No.
Yeah. It's not how it works, you know. So you know, and we thought about like, okay, in terms of social scale, you can become tipsy, and that's kind of something that you can force yourself to be more extroverted. But how can you become more introverted? It doesn't make sense, you
No.
know. So it's so checks in Rue Valley are like situational. This moment caught you because you were trying to do something, and then you will either fail or succeed, and that's it. You know, so it's gonna be the outcome. Other people will go through different outcome because they were in different state when they came here.
Yeah.
Maybe they were anxious and tipsy or whatever, but they didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
So in this Elysium, I caught myself going back to white checks just because I had them unfinished. You know, I had this check that I can reset, and I was trying to level up as fast as possible. Not really, but you know, this was in my
You
in
start
the back of
thinking
my
about it
mind.
instead of just.
No, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, this is the part that kind of feels a bit that could be worked on, but it doesn't necessarily have to be something that other people don't like.
Yeah.
You know, maybe just thing that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. No, get it. And I agree with actually everything you said there. To be honest, very good points. All right, given everything we've talked about, given your experiences with the people involved with Disco Elysium, and all of the information that I've been lucky enough to gather in the last year or so, what are your hopes and expectations for the future of Elysium?
Oof. I have hopes in the guys I met, and not just hopes. Actually, it's I believe that something good will come out from them again, and you know, there's no way that these minds won't think of something new, something that will impress us again. So I talked with Robert a bit about let's say ideas. You know, he didn't say like, oh, we want to do something, you know, concretely, or we have, but he shared some like very vague ideas that he has, and the way the direction he wants, it has to be something uh, let's say groundbreaking. You know, so of course, you know, everything can happen, but I think once we get something from these guys, it will be amazing.
I agree. But more importantly, we are able to look forward to this whole generation of disco likes now, of which Rue
Yeah.
Valley is one of them. So it comes to me now to remind everybody: is the alpha still available at the moment?
I think it is until tomorrow or something.
I mean, yeah, by the time this publishes, it's probably gone. But Marko, everybody is excited for Rue Valley. I'm really grateful you've come on and talked to me about it in such detail today. I think honestly, I'm like it. I was already excited, but hearing you talk about the thought process and the creative process that you and the team are going through and have been through so far gets me even more excited. I'm sure the fans will feel the same. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to see more, and hopefully we can catch up when we do. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It was a half, let's say, unexpected, but like feel honored to be on the podcast and among all the other guys that that are already here and that will be in the future.
Yeah, no, brilliant. All right, thank you everyone, and thank you Marko, and that's the end of that one. Thank you very much. Bye bye.